My time.
Gentleman's recognized for
once again,
1 minute.
the gentleman's response is off the target. If you want to ban offshore oil drilling, ban offshore oil drilling, but you're trying to ban speech. The idea is to cap the well, not cap speech. The idea here is to honor the First Amendment, not tear it up. The idea is not to use to your advantage a tragedy of enormous proportions to somehow render asunder the First Amendment. We're talking about debate. We're talking about speech. We're not talking about whether they can drill or not. The gentleman from Ohio has been one of those who has expressed themselves with controversial at times and disfavored positions, and yet he honors this House by being here and arguing his position. I am surprised that someone who has been so proud of his ability to speak out on controversial issues would want to deny others the opportunity. This has nothing to do with drilling in the Gulf. It has everything to do with selecting disfavored groups, which is something the Constitution does not allow us to do. Let's not tear up the Constitution as the environment is torn up by an offshore drilling mess.
Time has expired. Gentleman from Ohio.
I yield myself 1 more minute.
Gentleman's recognized.
To my good friend from California. The Buckley versus Vallejo decision equated money with free speech. The oil and gas industry over a period of 20 years has contributed close to $250 million to the political process. There is no question of the influence they've had. There's no question of the incestuous relationship between the oil industry and the regulators, which led us to this deep water drilling catastrophe. What this legislation aims at doing is curbing the influence of these oil companies on our political process. So they can't get a lease, use the revenue from that lease, put it back in the political process, and ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. We can't let the oil companies do that anymore. We have to protect our government here. We have to protect the Constitution of the United States, and we can't give them the ability to usurp the Constitution, trying to do it in the name of free speech.
Time has expired.
Now, I want to conclude. How much is left on the gentleman's side?
Gentleman has no time remaining. Gentleman has 1 minute remaining.
I would like to conclude by saying this. The language that is in this amendment is the same language as that for TARP recipients. So there's nothing special about the language. It's the same one for TARP recipients, saying that if someone gets federal money, they shouldn't be able to use their position to go back to the government and get people elected who are going to give them more money. So I'll yield 15 seconds to my good friend, and that's
the difference between TARP and this is that recipients of TARP get money. In this case, these people get leases which allow them to pay money to the federal government. It's just the opposite.
Well, I thank the gentleman reclaiming my time. The oil companies, let us stipulate, are not eleemosynary or charitable organizations. They make huge profits at the expense of the taxpayers, and they're making it even more profit because the fact of the matter is we now have to monetize the cost of all the pollution that's coming out of the Gulf. No matter what BP pays, we'll be paying for generations to come. Support the Kucinich Amendment. Thank you.
All time has expired. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Ohio. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to.